Life. It is everywhere we look. Life ignites all of our actions. It is both fleeting and enduring, boundless and transient. The human species seems insignificant beside the power of nature and the breadth of the life by which we are surrounded. And yet, we have dominion over it all. It has been said that life is one of the most basic human rights. But when does life begin?
I think the beginning of life is when you have a heartbeat.
I think you could say that human life probably begins when a fetus becomes somewhat identifiable and systems are developing.
When they're born, it's the moment that you come to the world. The moment that you actually breathe.
We're not gonna know it, not even 1,000 years, not even in a million years. I believe that's the biggest mystery.
Probably sometime after or within the first trimester.
I think we're trying to know when life actually begins.
First, the unborn take in nutrients and grow via cellular reproduction. Second, the unborn are the offspring of human parents and have human DNA. And finally, the unborn are human organisms, like you or me, whereas sperm, egg, and body cells are merely human tissue and do not have any rights. You, me, infants, and the unborn are all human organisms. That's because we all have an intrinsic capacity to develop as organisms, a capacity that body cells do not have. This is true even if we die before we grow up into mature members of our species. No matter how much time or nutrients you give sperm, eggs, and other body cells, they can never develop into a mature member of a species. That is because these cells are not organisms. They are instead body parts that belong to a larger human organism. And it is that organism that deserves special rights, including the right to life. Adult, teenager, child, infant, fetus, embryo, blastocyst, zygote. These are all stages of development in the life of a human organism. Shouldn't we treat all human organisms, or what we usually call human beings, equally, regardless of what level of development they're currently at?
Our topic for today is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Let us learn about the male and female reproductive parts of flowering plants. Stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower. It consists of the anther and the filament. The anther produces pollen grains. Each matured pollen grain contains a tube cell consisting of a tube nucleus. And two male gametes. Carpel is the female reproductive part of the flower. Top part of the carpel is called the stigma. Stigma is supported by the style. Base part of the carpel is the ovary. Ovary contains one or more ovules. Each ovule has a female gamete.
Flowering plants, or angiosperms, reproduce sexually, and the flower is the reproductive organ. Flowers contain male reproductive organs, which are known as anthers. They make up the top portion of the stamen. The slender stalk of the stamen is known as the filament. Flowers also contain the female reproductive organ, known as the carpel. The top part of the carpel is the stigma, where pollen grains must land in order to germinate. The stigma is supported by the style, and in the base of the carpel is the ovary. Other parts of the flower include the petals, often brightly coloured to attract insects and birds, the sepals, and the nectary. The egg and sperm fertilise when pollination occurs. Pollen contains the male gametes and is found on the anthers. Pollen moves from the anthers to the female stigma. Pollen tubes extend down to the ovary, where the ovules are fertilised and seeds formed. Seeds mature either inside fruit or in the ovary and are dispersed in a number of ways, including by wind, water, animals, and humans. Many flowers contain both male and female organs and gametes. Examples are lilies and roses. Some, such as those found on watermelon and mustard plants, contain only one type of reproductive organ, meaning those species have male and female plants. Plants containing both male and female organs are able to self-pollinate, although this does not often occur. Cross-pollination ensures the genetic diversity of flowering plants. Pollen is unable to move of its own accord. It is transferred from anthers to stigmas by various means, including birds, insects, wind, and water. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants is a highly evolved process. They are very successful organisms, with an estimated 400,000 species in existence on the planet. Their reproductive process is critical to the survival of habitats worldwide.
Yeah. Yes! Yes!